perfect time for a shot of vitamin T and a conversation with Teresa Tomeo. Good morning, Teresa.
Good morning, Teresa.
Good morning, buongiorno. And I love the fact that you were talking about Santa Chiara.
Yes.
That's how she says her name in Italian. And of course, St. Clare. But yeah, big feast day. And of course, Dave, listening to your chat prior to the break and your beautiful scripture reflection, the connection with Mother Angelica and St. Clare, Assisi, which is so phenomenal. And this Friday is a big anniversary, 45 years. So we're going to be interviewing quite a few people, including Raymond Arroyo, about Mother Angelica and the network.
Yeah, and the folks here at Annunciation Radio, the founders of Annunciation Radio, and their wisdom started this on the exact same date as EWTN. So that it's easy to remember, August the 15th. So, but I wanted to ask you, as the resident expert, of course, on all things related to St. Francis, that also gives you a window into the soul, the life of St. Clare. Anything in particular you're thinking of today as we celebrate her?
I'm thinking of her, yes, initially to following St. Francis, because she did found the Poor Clares, as you were mentioning earlier, but with the guidance and the help of St. Francis of Assisi. And I have a segment in my Francis series, the online series, The Unknown St. Francis, all about the friendship, holy friendship between Clare and Francis. They were very close and they did a lot together. And she first heard him preach in the upper part of Assisi, not too far from where the Basilica of Santa Chiara is right now. And that was it. Put a fork in her. She was done. She wanted to follow him right away. It caused a lot of problems with her very wealthy and prominent family. But I just think it shows us how when you have a zeal for the Lord and when you are preaching the truth from the depths of your heart, as St. Francis always did, you never know the impact you're going to have. I mean, you have the impact of St. Francis. Then you look at the impact now of St. Clare. Just looking at St. Clare, Mother Angelica is of Francis saying yes to God, Clare saying yes to God through Francis, and now Mother Angelica saying yes to both through Clare and Francis. So it's incredible. But Assisi is a very special place, and there's a huge, huge accomplishment in terms of so many places associated with Santa Chiara, along with St. Francis. Of course, you have her tomb. You have the San Damiano convent, which is just outside of the walls of Assisi. You have San Rufino, where she was baptized. There's actually the baptismal font there. Francis was also baptized in the same baptismal font that you can see in San Rufino. And then you can go to Santa Maria dell'Angeli, which we discussed last week, which is where Francis conferred the habit onto Clare. And there's a beautiful series of murals inside that church depicting the life and the friendship of St. Clare and St. Francis. So you could spend like a whole week in Assisi or more, a few days on the life of St. Francis and a few days on the life of St. Clare, visiting all these different sites. So pretty phenomenal.
Does the monastery that St. Clare's order began in, is that still there? I mean, is that still pretty much intact?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's actually now San Damiano, and you can visit it.
Okay.
And there's a famous statue there, Pat, of the saint holding the Eucharist, holding the monstrance,
Oh, yeah.
where she was fighting back invaders and the power of her faith in the Holy Eucharist. So, yeah, it's a very beautiful place. That's where it's in the book, the new book on St. Francis. That's where the original cross, the San Damiano cross, was. They have a copy of it now in that chapel, but now the original cross is actually located in the Basilica of St. Clare. The minute you walk in, the guides will lead you immediately to the right to the San Giorgio Chapel, and that's where the San Damiano cross is hanging. Oh. You pray there, you come out, you go down the stairs, you make a right, you go to her tomb in the crypt, and then when you come out, the way the tour is organized, you are immediately confronted with this gorgeous wall-to-wall reliquary, which has her habits. It has the part of the rule that she wrote. It has locks of her hair. It has vestments that she sewed for St. Francis. It has socks of St. Francis's with the signs of the stigmata. So it's just a phenomenal church. You could just spend, again, days and weeks in just those one spots associated with St. Clare.
So do they do special things in Italy on this day, on her feast day?
Oh, there's always, there will be processions, there will be special events, and the whole town of Assisi, whenever there is a feast day associated with one of their own, it's a really big day. So in addition to the actual masses and the different processions and whatnot, you can bet there'll be some sort of a gathering outside in the piazza. And it's a great time. It's a very busy time in Italy right now, Pat, because we're celebrating all month long. You know, the Italians can never do a party for just a day. It's got to go on for weeks on end. This is Ferragosto month. So with the Feast of the Assumption of the Blessed Mother, and it's holiday month in Italy and in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people, do not, if you don't want to run into crowds, although there's a lot of exciting things going on, don't go to Italy in July and August. It's extremely warm, so it's difficult to go on the tours. And then you are definitely going to run into the crowds because of the different feast days. Because let's face it, August is incredible with the feast days. You said the feast of St. Dominic.
Yeah.
You said the feast of St. Lawrence yesterday. Today we've got St. Clare. So, Italy is going crazy with all these great saints.
Yeah.
Well, and Assisi in particular, right? They've got like a feast a week. I mean, a saint a week at this point, and they keep adding to it. It's great. Hey,
Saint of the day.
I wanted to talk about this because you look at St. Francis, you look at St. Clare, Mother Angelica, and you think, my goodness, they were just raised up in this sacred way, this sacred dirt that brought them up without any issues, without any difficulties, and it was clear that they were going to be saints from the beginning. It's tough, right? To move forward in a sanctified life takes one good choice after the next.
Well, St. Francis has got a great story where he obviously loved the high life, and his family was very wealthy. His father was a merchant, and he took him to France quite often on business, which is actually why he was named Francis, because his father was very fond of the French. But he was a party boy, and he didn't turn around until he had that moment in Spoleto, where he realized that he was on his way to fight down south in the papal army, and then he became ill again. And that's when God spoke to him and literally got knocked off his high horse and had to jump back on the horse and go into Assisi in full armor and face everyone and say, you know what, I'm not going to be the hero that I thought I was going to be. Now, St. Clare lived a holier life, I would say, in terms of the fact that she was a beautiful young girl, and she was very young when she heard Francis speak. She was a teenager. And so she hadn't had the time to get into any trouble, unlike St. Francis, who had already had somewhat of an interesting background. And she heard him. And as I said, she heard him speak once, preach once about the Lord and sacrificing your life and living with the poor and serving the poor. And that was it. But it caused, you're talking about the problems. It's not as if the family said, oh, go with God, dear daughter. We're all very proud of you. She had all kinds of challenges with her family, where they physically tried to remove her twice when she went to join with Francis. I mean, physically tried to remove her. And the same for her sister. So, yeah, it wasn't all, sunshine and roses, right? And, oh, yeah, she's going to become a nun. Isn't that wonderful? They wanted her to marry into a very prominent family, to keep the business going throughout the years. So, no, it was not easy. And I think for Clare, it was more of a family situation. And for Francis, it was a very personal one.
And I think both of them are such great role models for us today, in the sense that we live in a world that is very materialistic. We're always trying to accumulate, and it's hard to overcome that. You understand why Christ talks about the poor so much, because they have to depend on him. And so it's wonderful to see these saints who gave up that. They gave it up. They realized how empty it was. What a great model for us.
Yeah, and it's a real model for me. Just ask my husband, Deacon Dom. Yesterday, I just gave away a couple of bags of clothes. So I'm like, I don't think I'd make a very good Franciscan in that sense, because I have a lot more than one cloak as St. Francis.
Yeah.
So I'm still working on that.
Me too. I'm with you.
Yeah. For us, less is more.
Yeah, exactly.
We have the 45th anniversary for EWTN coming up. We're talking about St. Clare today. Of course, that puts you in mind of Mother Angelica. And it puts me in mind of a story that Michael Warsaw, the head of EWTN, told to a group of Catholic radio station owner-operators gathered several years ago in Birmingham about a conversation Mother had with the Lord long after she walked away from EWTN. And she was thanking him for raising her up to do that. And he said to her, you weren't the first. In fact, you were the fourth one I asked. You were the first one who said yes.
Wow.
We have to say yes, right? You have to say yes.
Yeah.
That's where it all starts.
Yeah. Well, Teresa, thank you for your yes, and thank you for the wonderful shot of vitamin T today.
Thanks, Teresa.
You are so welcome.
You find out all things Teresa Tomeo related at teresatomeo.com. You're listening to Morning Offering. We'll be right back.